Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Losey, Head of Partnerships and Conservation at Natural World Safaris. I'm here today with Megan Hine, survivalist, expedition leader, resilience coach, and author who has spent over 20 years guiding film crews, scientists, and adventurers through some of the world's most unforgiving landscapes. Bear Grylls has described her as stronger than 99% of the men I know. But what sets Megan apart is her mindset. With a background in psychology, deep experience working alongside tribal communities, and a philosophy rooted in empathy and adaptability, she doesn't just navigate the wild, she helps others tune into it. Megan will now lead our first ever women's only journey to Svalbard in June 2026, a remote archipelago in the Arctic Ocean between Norway and the North Pole, where polar bears outnumber people and the sun doesn't set at that time of year. This intimate journey is limited to just 12 people and is created by women, for women, with Mother Nature as our guide. This is not about conquering the wild. It's about unlocking the wild within, trusting our instincts, deepening our connection to ourselves and each other, and allowing nature to be our compass. And while Megan herself is undeniably hardcore, this journey is not designed as a grueling endurance challenge. Instead, it's for curious women seeking something rare, something real, something away from the ordinary. You don't need to be hardcore. You just need to be open to a transformational experience designed to awaken your instincts, deepen your awareness, and strengthen your connection to the wild around us and within us in one of the most remote places on Earth. So, welcome, Megan. So excited to have you here.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited by this.
Okay, so let's dig in. So we'll start with the obvious. So some women will see your background and be intimidated, thinking like, "Wow, I could never do that." What would you say to those women, and how is this journey less about toughness and more about connection and instinct?
Yeah, I get that a lot about because of the perception, social media is a great thing. If you Google my name, there's, certain stories that will pop up around, operating in supposedly hardcore extreme environments. And I think that's what I would like to bring. So I always want to say to people, that was the journey that I took, and I started at a very young age. I started working in the outdoor industry at 17, and kind of it was the path that I chose and the path that I suppose called to me. And it was never about being hardcore. It was about curiosity. The hardcore element is something that I always love to address, because I think, if you Google my name, some of the work that I've done over the years pops up. And I've been working in the outdoor industry since the age of 17. And I kind of fell into the TV world very early on, when I suppose it's the evolution of adventure filmmaking as we see it now. And yes, we were going to all these really exciting places, but for me, it was never about being hardcore. It's just something that I did. I loved doing, and it was about curiosity. I was just fascinated. I didn't get to travel to these places when I was a child, and like reading books about them, about these places and all these incredible peoples and animals and things that live in these really remote, wild settings just absolutely fascinated me. It's like, how can they live in these places? Um, so for me, survival adventure have always been about adaptability and curiosity, and also trusting in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So this journey, it's not about testing your limits. Um, to breaking point. It's as you mentioned, it's about reconnecting with your instincts, and putting yourself out there into situations which everyday life might not allow you to do, and sort of reconnecting with yourself. And this, I'm very, very excited about this journey in Svalbard, because I think the it sets the scene for taking a deep dive into how and why our bodies and minds react to certain stimuli in the way that they do, and for us to be able to address it in this incredible setting where you can see where those emotions might be coming from, and then take the lessons that we learn there back into everyday life, as well, to hopefully give more perspective and understanding.
Yeah, and I think for so many, some of the sexier moments for TV, those extreme moments get get all of get the spotlight, but those quiet moments of resilience are just, if not more, so much more important, and like we have those moments every single day. So I love how like this trip can translate into the everyday life and in so many ways. But okay. So this journey is so much more about than just seeing the Arctic. It's about being changed by it. How do you see adventure as a catalyst for transformation, both in the landscapes we explore and then with also within ourselves?
So over the 20 plus years of being in an amazing position to be able to take people out into environments like in Svalbard, jungles, deserts around the globe, and really getting off the beaten path, um, I I always see this like really transformative experience. And there's something about being off in these wild places and sitting around a campfire at night and the stories that come out and the things that we share with people who essentially are strangers,
Mhm.
that we're going through this experience, through this expedition, this trip, together with, and it always amazes me, like even after all these years, of just the power that those moments have, to reconnect people, and to connect people with others, but also with ourselves. And that's when I started really sort of exploring the psychology side of things and sort of went down, and picked up some qualifications in psychology and resilience coaching, because I was absolutely fascinated with like what it is that makes some people survivors, and other people, they go off into these environments and they get themselves into trouble and they aren't able to mentally bring themselves back again. And that's something that I would like to really explore with this, because I think that there is this, it's really underused, the power of adventure and the power of trips like the Svalbard trip for helping us understand, our evolution and some of the symptoms that we might experience, in the modern world, today.
And then this trip, it's not an extreme trip. So you're on the Kinfish. I know you were a specialist leader last year. Can you set the scene as to what that experience is like, kind of the day to day of like of what people can expect?
It's magic. Like it really is like a once in a lifetime experience. Having done lots and lots of trips all over the world, this has to be one of my favorite ones. It was all slowing down. So much of what I do is very, very fast paced, even in these wild places. And to be able to get on board, the Kinfish and be surrounded by the crew are just wonderful. They all know the area so well. They're all very passionate about navigation and the ice and the animals that live there. And you get to go on this journey with them. They're very open to exploring like sort of the decisions that they make along the way as well in regards to weather, the journey and the navigation itself. And the food is out of this world.
Oh yeah.
It's
I live in New York City and I was like, this is better than any New York City restaurant I've been to in the last 5 years. Sounds so delicious. Agree. Um, yeah, and then I love the fact that that bridge, you can be up there with the team 24/7 and you could be looking out at the wildlife at 3 a.m. and or do the polar plunge at 3 a.m. Like it's a little trippy. So interesting. Um, Okay, this journey is women only by design. It's led by women for women with Mother Nature as our guide. So, from your perspective, why is it powerful to experience a place as raw and transformative as Svalbard with an all-women group?
This is a great question, and I guess for me, it's been something that I guess throughout my career I've often been the only woman in the room, if you like, and I feel that there aren't many opportunities for women to connect, and I spend a lot of time working with Indigenous cultures, and when I see how the women work together, they often go everywhere together. They're cooking together. They typically go out trapping and hunting smaller game, patching up shelters, looking after the children, and it's a communal affair. And I think within this sort of modern world that we've created, we often become or find ourselves very isolated. And I don't think, we're not fully aware yet of the repercussions of that. It's, we're starting to filter into our conscious of the effect of becoming isolated, and the anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, that people are starting to experience more and more. So to be able to bring a group of women together where we can reconnect, we can have these conversations, we can explore anxiety, and overwhelm, and also when you get to certain ages as well, there's a shift as well hormonally. So exploring all of these things and how all of these different stages of our life, if you like, interact together to create who we are and bring us to this place. And the whole idea of this trip is to foster awareness, because I truly believe that with awareness of something, it goes a long way to being able to understand and take ownership over actions moving forwards.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I recently heard about this study, well, not recently, but it's been around for, I think, almost 100 years, but the Harvard happiness study. Have you heard about this? But yeah, and it's like basically they studied, it's the longest study on happiness on earth ever. But the biggest takeaway, it's like the quality of our relationships when we're in our 80s or 90s um, that indicates just like our health, our holistic health. And it doesn't have to be, I think everybody prioritizes romantic relationships, but it can be a friend's relationship. It can be with this community of women. It can be with a mentor. But I think that just like we don't fully understand the impact of isolation and feeling lonely. And this just feels like such a huge antidote to that, which is a
Absolutely.
beautiful thing.
I think
Yeah.
we're seeing that with our younger generations as well. Like the impact of COVID, we're only just starting to realize that of younger people being very isolated, but we often forget the impact on women, and how that would have affected us. And that was obviously a very specific moment in time. But if we look at how we work now, we can work from home, we can order our food in. There's so many times at the moment where we don't actually need to interact with
Mhm.
people, and become very disconnected. And as women, we need to have that social interaction. It's a core part of who we are and how we evolved as a species. And without it, it does lead into anxiety and overwhelm. And they're sort of the studies that are coming out on that recently, are absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. So on that note, what do you hope that each woman that joins the trip, I think there's 12 spots. What do you want them to take away from this trip, not just about the Arctic, but about herself?
Yeah, so I think what I'd love to have is, for people to take away, is having more of an understanding of how the essentially the evolution of the stress response, and how that has been developed over time, over millennia, to where it is today, and how we've gone from sort of a very sort of primitive, living as human beings, to suddenly like the modern world, exploding into what it is today. And our minds and how they work, our brains just haven't quite caught up, they've adapted, but they haven't evolved, to live as we do today. So it's about equipping women with the skills and the tools and the awareness to be able to take back into everyday life. So we're going to use Svalbard and the wilderness there as a medium to help us understand that.
So what could women expect? What would be on like a typical day, or what's on the agenda?
Yeah, so as well as, there will be moments where we will push you out of comfort zone. We're not going to tell you everything because
Yeah, no, of course not.
part of the journey is going into the unknown, because
Yeah.
that is what catalyzes change, as well, is actually going out into the unknown. And because it's so terrifying, we don't like change, we don't like the unknown. So it's a
Mhm.
great opportunity to use that to showcase certain things. But as we've said, this isn't about pushing people so far out of their limits and out of their comfort zone, and it's not a hardcore expedition. But so we will have moments of where we're on the boat and we can spend time with each other, getting to know each other. There's also space on the boat if people want their own time as well. We will be getting off and we will be exploring Svalbard as we go around the coastline. And without doubt, there will be wildlife out there. So when I was out there at the beginning of this year, we were seeing polar bear and walrus and seal and all the amazing bird life that lives up there as well.
Mhm. Um, yeah. What do you think of Svalbard's that remote beauty? What excites you most about bringing people up there? Is there a singular moment from your last trip that kind of really stands out that like really kind of, or do you want to kind of keep it more under wraps?
No, it's the peace of the place.
Hmm.
Somewhere that is just so calm. I think for me personally, that's why I was so excited to go this year with Natural World Safaris, was that it is such a magical place, and it's always held this sort of magic, and it's always really captivated me. Um, all the stories of like explorers that have gone out there or have tried to go out there over the years, and all the wildlife that live there, and sort of the migration patterns of marine life that pass through. There's just something about the energy of the place that is just quite incredible, and it forces you to slow down and it forces you to be mindful and observe what's going on around you, and really zone in. You've got wildlife that they've evolved to be camouflaged within the terrain. So being
Hmm.
able to learn how to zone in and see that wildlife and watch it, because it's such a vast, from the boat, we have the most amazing viewing platform, and you
Hmm.
watch like polar bear from kilometers out as they're traversing across the ice, and watch them in their natural habitat. And it's so rare now to be able to have those opportunities where you're truly watching wild animals.
Absolutely. And just the idea that, I mean, I think that typically a small ship is 100 people. This is 12 people. It's a total game changer. And then the idea of people use the word luxury, but like this is like to me, to many, there's like the greatest luxury is to have access to areas that other people wouldn't, or have that level of peace that turning off the engine and just like having that quiet is so rare to your point, and just like adds to the whole ambiance of the whole experience. Um, okay. You've worked alongside indigenous communities, scientists, explorers. How does that shape the way you guide people through the fragile, remote ecosystems like the Arctic?
I'm such a nerd. I really love. Um, I'm that annoying person in group sessions that is like, I've got a question. I want to know everything about stuff, and it's just like my mind goes. So it's really shaped. It's really shaped, I suppose, how I guide and how I work with other people and in these environments, and hopefully makes me more aware and culturally sensitive as well. And also it helps foster empathy as well, for an understanding for the natural world, but also for other people as well. And yeah, I've been incredibly fortunate to work very closely with Indigenous cultures all over the globe. And to see people that are still very much living in traditional ways, sort of really helps put into perspective how our modern worlds can at times be quite unhealthy for us, and how we're not always aware of that either. And things like you mentioned, happiness, like that's a big one. Our lives in the modern world are so fast paced, and we're constantly like bombarded with information from all different angles, and it's like our brains just don't get any peace. Whereas when you're out, you're working with indigenous cultures and going out. So earlier in this year, I went out, spent some time out in the Amazon for a project. And going out hunting with the local guys with their blowpipes, and the silence that you need to be in, to waiting for the animals to come through, learning about animal behavior, very mindful. But then the sheer joy and how they just made fun of each other as they were tripping up in the jungle and moving through. And these are things that we're missing in the modern world at times. And as we've said, become very isolated and lose that collaborative effort of working together, which is very sad.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's anything that's like a fact in this world is that we all are, most of us are suffering from nature deficit disorder. It's a real thing. And I don't think people, so many of us are so divorced from, just are not attuned to the natural world, and have lost that curiosity. And experiences like this really tap into that like hunger for wonder and awe and just being connected in a way that so many indigenous communities have to be. That's like their survival. So it's so interesting to kind of have that insight. I'm sure you have so many stories and have just been fascinated by learning through them, and their worlds. But so yeah, that is beautiful, like a beautiful part of your journey. Um, is there one moment you're especially looking forward to sharing with guests? Maybe a place, a challenge, a wild encounter, anything that you want to share, or you can.
Yeah, well, I think it's meeting people in the hotel, and there's seeing
Because
people.
that first day you're in a hotel, right? So you're in Longyearbyen, you arrive in Longyearbyen, you're in a hotel that first day. That's the no most northernmost settlement in the world, right? And then you continue on to the Kinfish, the 12-person boat. So that's okay.
Yes, yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, just to clarify, yeah. So the first night is in a hotel, and the plane ride in to into the town where we stay the first night is just incredible. And you're flying over Svalbard, and you're looking down, and you're seeing all the ice and the snow and the sheer vastness, and how there is very, very little civilization down there, and you come in quite low as you're coming in. And I think you read about these places oftentimes, but until you see it, you don't quite grasp just how wild it is. So seeing people's faces when they've just come off the plane and coming into the hotel, there's this real like sense of like excitement and anticipation, and it's just the most amazing thing, because then you're suddenly like, wow, you kind of like get to be a part of their journey, if you like, and their experience, and that for me was just magical. And I think there's as you go around, as you're on the boat and you're going around, you kind of run out of words, because it's just like wow, wow. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm just like, I sound like a broken record.
No. Yeah. And there's the Svalbard, there's the global seed vault, right? When you first arrive. So it shows you you're in an area that like there's just so many fascinating parts of that part of the world that so few people get to. Obviously, polar bears outnumbering people. You can't even go in the town, right? There's certain areas of the town you have to have a gun in order to walk around because it's there's real threat. So yeah, just such another it's another world. Okay. So if someone is on the fence about joining this trip, what would you tell them about the Arctic, about this trip, about traveling with you, just to help them understand and figure out if this is for them or not for them? And that's kind of part two to this question, like who is this trip for? Who is it not for? There's a lot of people that may be curious, but maybe like this is not for me. But maybe your insights will help them understand, like, actually this is likely for you.
Yeah, and I think this is totally natural, and something that we will explore, that I like to teach is looking at the hero's journey, which is a structure in storytelling that follows these 12 phases, if you like. And obviously this is the heroine's journey. It took being an all-women's trip, but one of the first stages of this is you're living in your ordinary world. You're living in your um, wherever it is in the world that you're based. That's your ordinary world, your day-to-day existence. And then you maybe have seen an advert for a Natural World Safaris tour, and that's your call to adventure. And it's like something inside of you gets excited. And then it's totally natural. And this happens not just, on a being called to an expedition, but this happens in lots of decisions we make. every single day, is that we reject the call. The self-doubt starts creeping in. So we've had that call. It's just like seen that advert. It's like, oh, this sounds really exciting. Somewhere I've always wanted to go. Polar bear. Wow. And then that self-doubt starts creeping in. Oh, I'm not going to be capable of that. It's going to be really cold. It's, all of these sort of negative self-talk starts creeping in. And that's where, I want you to stop and think about what it is about that. Why is there a resistance there? And have a look at that, have an exploration of that. This trip is designed as an incredibly supportive trip. As we've said, we're not going to be getting you so far out of your comfort zone that you're in a dangerous situation. You will be very well looked after on this trip, by myself, but also by an incredible team, the Natural World Safaris team. We've also got local guides that will be working with us as well, who help look after us while we're out on the ice and on land. So you'll be very well looked after. And this is a fantastic opportunity to just take some time out of your everyday life, and come and join me and join us as a team, to help to explore maybe why you might be a little bit stuck in life, or maybe experiencing some sort of anxiety in everyday life, and just take time out to use as a catalyst for the next chapter of life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I would love to go on a trip like this. And I wish that at any age, whether like your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever it is, I feel like it's relevant for whatever phase you are in your life. We can learn from our elders. We can learn from like people going through different chapters of their life. And it's just such an incredible, like a remarkable setting to be able to do that. And just such a privilege to be able to work and learn from you. Thank you so much.